His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Saud Al-Tamimi, Governor of Communications, Space and Technology Commission of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, our very nice host, Mr. Yunhua Lee, UN Under-Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs, Her Excellency Ms. Ntati Morosi, I hope I pronounce it correctly, Minister of Information, Communication, Science and Technology and Innovation of Lesotho, His Excellency Mr. Takuo Imagawa, Vice Minister of Internal Affairs and Communications from Japan, then Ms. Sally Wentworth, Chief Executive Officer of the Internet Society, also known as ISOC, and His Excellency Mr. Shermatov Shersot, Minister of the Development of Information Technologies and Communications of Uzbekistan, then Mr. Stefan Schnorr, State Secretary at the Federal Ministry for Digital and Transport from Germany, Ms. Jennifer Bacchus, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Bureau of Cyberspace and Digital Policy of the United States, and last but not least, and looking forward to coming to your country next summer, His Excellency Mr. Torgeir Mikaelsson, State Secretary of Digitalization and Public Governance of Norway. So looking forward to hearing from all of you and sharing some thoughts about WSIS+20 and how to get there and what to want from the process in the coming few minutes. Of course, let us start with some introductory remarks by Mr. Yunhua Lee from Under-Secretary General from UNDESA. Thank you very much. Floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Thomas, or Ambassador, for giving me the floor. It's so amazing to have such a distinguished panelist to discuss the WSIS+20. But first of all, let me say just a few words. I would like to start by saying that on behalf of the United Nations and also that I guess on behalf of the whole panel, to express our profound gratitude to the host country for this exceptional hospitality and excellent efforts in organizing this important event. As you said, Mr. Moderator, we are at a critical moment in global digital governance. The recent adoption of the Global Digital Compact in the United Nations and the upcoming WSIS+20 review next year present a very unique opportunity for the global community to shape our digital future in the coming decade. So UNDESA will serve as a secretariat supporting the President of the General Assembly to prepare the WSIS+20 process. We are fully committed to coordinating all the efforts with our stake partners and across the sectors, particularly UN Group on the Information Society to be chaired by ITU and the UNESCO. And this collaboration brings together the key partners like, just now as I mentioned, the ITU, UNESCO, plus UNDP and UNCTAD, and for a unified approach. So we are working very closely to define the whole process and support the process. But let me say, the IGF in this process plays a very crucial role in our forthcoming review. It can certainly help to amplify and synthesize contributions from the diverse stakeholders to inform and provide the guidance to the WSIS review and also the negotiation process in its final package. So in all, our commitment is here, and it also will lead us for next year. Thank you.
Thank you. I need to talk into the mic, that helps normally. Thank you, dear Under-Secretary General. Now we have a few questions that I'd like to hear you reflect on, and as we have quite a big panel, which is followed by another panel, and time is limited, as we all know. The time limit for each intervention is not 30 minutes, but 3 minutes. So I would like you to adhere or stick to the time, because I'm sure we all have a lot to hear from all of you. So let me start with question one. which is the question about the most significant achievements since the WSIS summits 20 years ago, and what lessons that can be learned when looking back almost 20 years from your point of view. So what are the biggest achievements and lessons learned? Let me first turn to Her Excellency Ms. Ntati Morozi from Lesotho. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I am really honored to be sharing a stage with these excellencies today. I want to start by acknowledging the work that IGF is doing as a platform that is rooted in the visionary principles of the World Summit. As a country located in Africa, I feel like we in Africa, we in Lesotho are at different stages of achievements since 20 years ago when the forum was held. We have some milestones that are recordable. The policy framework, we've done wonderful work on that. We have the laws that are applicable. However, we still have big gaps, especially on the cybersecurity legal framework. We find a lot of challenges, especially from the media fraternity. From time to time, they feel like we are taking their freedom of expression away from them. However, we are happy to report that we have created recently the Sectoral Cyber Incident Response Team, which is an effort to step forward in enhancing our national cybersecurity resilience and ensuring a secure digital environment. So every time, the whole time since yesterday, I've been listening to different speakers talking about leaving no one behind. And I stand here today thinking about my own country, that Lesotho as a country, compared with other countries, it's already left behind. Now, Basotho, among themselves, the people who live in Lesotho, there's still such big digital gaps. Infrastructure-wise, we have been able to achieve close to 95% plus. But somebody talked about the fact that connection doesn't mean infrastructure doesn't mean that everyone is connected, because of the challenges that have been highlighted about infrastructure, about skills, about, in Lesotho, the biggest challenge is electricity. We don't even have electricity to charge whatever smart devices that people have. We have connected only 2% of the schools, because at the moment where we are as a country, we are still struggling with getting students into classrooms. We still have students who share classrooms. One classroom will host more than 3 grades in one room. We still have students who have to sit under the tree to learn. So when we talk about connecting schools, for us it's quite a long journey. However, we are not discouraged. We are working hard to ensure that we take those baby steps and we ensure that we get our people connected. So in terms of what has been achieved, we have achieved some, but we still have a long way to go. I'm weary about 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Next, Germany, State Secretary General. What have we achieved? What are the lessons that Germany has learned?
Yeah, Thomas, thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for their hard work in organizing this year's IGF. We deeply appreciate their efforts in making these events possible in such important times. To come to your question, Thomas, the World Summit on the Internet, on the Information Society, was, in my opinion, truly a milestone for the Internet governance, and not only for the Internet governance, but for the digital cooperation worldwide. And it laid the foundation for the first comprehensive global framework for digital cooperation. The summit is, in my opinion, still highly relevant, even if the wording of information society sounds a little bit outdated and the acronym WSIS is not familiar to everyone. But as I mentioned, the summit is still important, and it remains a cornerstone in fostering an inclusive, human-centered and digital transformation. For 2 decades now, the WSIS has provided essential guidelines for global digital cooperation. For example, the WSIS action lines continue to guide and inspire digital efforts worldwide. I think it's a clear testament for its long-lasting impact. And very important, WSIS was also the groundbreaking because it was the first time that non-governmental stakeholder, private sector, technical community, academia and society worked side by side with the representatives of 175 nations to shape the future for the digital cooperation. And this collaboration gave birth to the multi-stakeholder approach, a concept that Germany has been proud to support since its inception. But perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, the most important and successful outcome of the WSIS is the internet governance, which has brought us all together here in Riyadh. What started as a forum to discuss only technical aspects of internet governance has evolved into a platform for addressing all aspects of the digital world. Now we discuss, in the past we have discussed 5G, now we discussed artificial intelligence, so all the relevant topics in the digital world are discussed here at the IGF, and therefore I think no other event succeeds like the IGF in bringing together such diverse voices from all stakeholder groups and fosters meaningful networks in the digital world. I think this is the right way to shape the future, and the United Nations can be very proud to host such an influential platform for global digital cooperation.
Thank you very much. Now let's turn again to our Undersecretary General from UNDESA, Mr. Junwali. What are DESA's lessons learned, and how do you see the biggest achievements, or where?
Well, thank you, Thomas. I guess it is really challenged to reflect 20 years achievement within the 3 minutes. But I would first reflect that the IGF itself is a crowning achievement for this WSIS process. IGF started with the mandate given by the WSIS. This a very unique, only a global premier forum brought all the multi-stakeholders to engage with each other on a number of issues. Just now, as the Secretary mentioned, that the IGF started with a single event. Now we have multidisciplined work tracks, and there are also thousands of participants joined our discussion here and benefit. It's not only about the government, it's also about private sectors, civil societies, technical communities, scientific academias, and also the vulnerable groups. But most importantly, we have increasing number of the youth participants who helped us to define, to discuss the future of the digital process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have another question that, of course, after the achievements, we need to look at the challenges and regarding also the latest instruments. So my question number 2 is, what are the main challenges in implementing the Global Digital Compact, and what role does the multi-stakeholder approach, or should the multi-stakeholder approach play in tackling them? Sally Wentworth from ISA, please.
Thank you, Ambassador, and I'd like to echo my colleagues in thanking the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting us this week. It's a marvelous venue and a really nice environment for this kind of multi-stakeholder discussion. The Global Digital Compact aspires to achieve an inclusive, open, sustainable, fair, safe, and secure digital future for all. For many of us here, some of the WSIS veterans, so to speak, this is a familiar theme. This is a body of work that many of us have been engaged in over the last 20 years. And so there are some lessons learned, I think, from the last 20 years that can help us overcome some of the challenges in implementing that vision that's set out in the Global Digital Compact. I draw on lessons related to connectivity. How is it that the world has made such impressive progress, growing from 1 billion people connected in the original WSIS summit to 5.4 billion people connected today? And I think what is clear is that it took a tremendous amount of collaboration by all stakeholders to achieve that result. I'm mindful of the question that IT Secretary General Doreen Bogdan put to us this morning, which is, despite that progress, are we satisfied? And of course the answer is no. We will not be satisfied until the remaining populations are part of this digital society that we're building. To do that, and if we're drawing lessons from the last 20 years, we must work together as stakeholders, and that has really been the hallmark of the WSIS. And that was actually the groundbreaking effort that took place during the WSIS summit in 2003 and 2005. And I remember very well how hard we all worked, from governments and civil society, private sector, the technical community, to figure out how we would work together to achieve these results. And so as we look forward to how we implement the Global Digital Compact, and as we look towards the WSIS+20, it is absolutely crucial that we remain committed to that model. That the model that brings the expertise from all parts of our society to the table and harnesses that is the model that is going to make us successful. It is the way we will move to connect the last 2.6 billion people and ensure that they come online to a world that is safe, secure, and protects them in the digital environment. So for us at the Internet Society, it's absolutely critical that the processes that we set up to review the WSIS 20 years later and to implement the Global Digital Compact really do remain firmly grounded in the multi-stakeholder model that has delivered us a tremendous amount of progress in the last 20 years and has also given us a taste of what's possible if we really lean into that.
Thank you very much. Now let's turn to His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Saud Al-Tamimi. What are the main challenges in implementing the Global Digital Compact, and what role does the multi-stakeholder approach have, in your view?
Thank you, Thomas. First of all, I would like to thank our host, His Excellency Ahmed Swayan, and his great team for putting everything for us to make sure that we are gathering here in a quality environment. Thank you. And let me convinced that this is the first time I've been in a big panel like this, so I'm watching the time. I'm really glad to be a champion with this great panelist. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we are glad that we're part of the consultation and preparation process for issuing the Global Digital Compact. And definitely there is challenges to implementing that one. And they echo what been said before. Number one challenge is connecting the unconnected. Right now we have 2.6 billion human beings that are not connected. Right now today, that's almost 33% of the globe. 14% of those unconnected due to coverage. This is lack of network. The rest is due to affordability. So there is a huge challenge by facing us as a globe to connect the unconnected. There's multiple ways to solve it. Right now we are partnering with the ITU to find innovative and sustainable solution to connect the unconnected, to solve this problem. The most challenging things over the last 20 years, the CAGR of unconnected people fallen dramatically over the past 20 years. Before this gap of unconnected being decreasing significantly, right now over the last 2 years we're only adding 100 million connecting. In 2022, based on the ITU, we have 2.7 billion. Today, at the end of 2024, we still have 2.6. So over 24 months, we're adding only 100 million. The second challenge, I think, it's not about only connecting the unconnected. That connection should be sustainable. So sustainability should be from the beginning within the design of connecting the unconnected. So that's why, again, we are working with the ITU to make sure any solution offered to the table should be sustainable, and there should be fair and safe access to all these solutions to connect the unconnected. Coming back, Thomas, to your last question, or last part of your question, which is about multilateral discussion. Definitely, there is two key principle or guiding principle that we should take in our consideration, figuring out how to implement and fixing the challenges of implementing Global Digital Compact. The first one, I think multiple of my colleagues mentioned it, which is collaboration. Definitely collaboration between government, private sector, academia. Everyone should involve, developed and developing country as well. The second one, which is accountability or inclusion. So it's not, from its name, it's a global digital impact. Global means it's a global problem that we need a global effort. So everyone should be added to that solution, and that solution should be inclusive. This means we don't leave anyone behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Now let's go to His Excellency, Mr. Tako Imagawa from Japan.
Thank you, Thomas. It's my great honor to be here at the session. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UN IGF Secretariat and stakeholders for organizing this splendid meeting. But despite advancement in digital technologies, 2.6 billion people worldwide remain unconnected to the internet, and many people are not fully benefiting from digital advancements. It is necessary to accelerate international cooperation in this digital field. The Japan welcomed the GDC adopted at the UN Future Summit. I believe it is essential to follow up on this compact in an effective manner. I would like to emphasize 2 points: the importance of multi-stakeholder engagement and the utilization of existing forums. Firstly, it is difficult to realize the commitment of the GDC only through a top-down approach by the UN or its member states. Cooperation among multi-stakeholders, including industry, civil society, the tech community, academia, and international organization, is indispensable. The importance of multi-stakeholder engagement is clearly stated throughout the GDC, but the key is effective implementation. The GDC has agreed to establish new mechanisms, such as the AI scientific panel and the global dialogue. As discussions on the modalities progress, it is necessary to provide multi-stakeholders with transparent and ample opportunities for inputs and to carefully consider those inputs. To make multi-stakeholder participation more effective, meaningful participation from developing as well as developed countries is necessary, including the efforts of capacity building. Secondly, we must not forget that international cooperation in the digital field has been already driven by multi-stakeholder efforts. We need to advance our efforts by building on existing forums, including the forums outside the UN system and expert efforts, avoiding overlaps. The IGF in which we are participating is a forum where various stakeholders contributing digital development gather, and active discussions are currently taking place. The IGF symbolizes the importance of multi-stakeholder efforts and is very effective for discussing the follow-up of the GDC. Regarding the follow-up of the GDC and its relationship with the existing initiatives such as WSIS and the IGF, I understand that specific discussions will take place in the near future. Japan's basic position is to leverage the existing forums, and we will contribute to these discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have another question that I'm going to ask also to three panelists. And the question is about how we can effectively address rapidly evolving and emerging technologies in frameworks as long and inclusive as the GDC and the WSIS process. So how they will deal with fast evolving technologies, knowing that our governance mechanisms take their time. His Excellency, Mr. Torgeir Michaelsen from Norway.
Thank you, Thomas. I mean, in general, emerging technologies, disruptive technologies, they should be discussed in an environment like this, in a multi-stakeholder approach, as we need to see this from all sorts of angles before going home, collaborating, setting things into motions. So, for instance, if you look at AI, it's obvious that AI-based solutions, they can basically be something that we can save the world with. On the other hand, a lot of ethical and other topics that needs to be considered. This is now addressed in the Global Digital Compact. WSIS has engaged in several important topics in that regards as well, with workshops, dialogues. I think this is the right way to move forward to also in the future to discuss it. For me, and from the Norwegian point of view, the kind of Scandinavian point of view, it's extremely important that we maintain a human-centric focus in this very important international debates on AI. Emerging technologies, for instance, we have some nice feedback on how to test out technologies in a safe environment. We have these different examples from our sandboxes where AI-capable AI systems with high risk potential can be tried out in a data-protected, privacy safe environment with really nice results. We'd love to share that sometime. We think that we need to have experience with this sort of times. And as I mentioned, use privacy and enhancing digital development must be stimulated. I think, as I started with, that we need to keep this AI-related topics into the multi-stakeholder dialogue. Lastly, I think we must renew our commitment to ethics and accountability, as called for under Objective 5 in the Global Digital Compact. As AI and other technologies reshape our societies, we must ensure that our multi-stakeholder collaboration uphold the highest ethical standards, safeguarding human rights, privacy, and security. If we can manage all those things together, I think we could have a lasting future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move to Ms. Jennifer Bacchus from the United States. How do we cope with the speed of technology?
I will echo my colleagues here in thanking both the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as well as the MAG and others involved in putting together this really impressive conference. And I'll also highlight, I have found the evolution of the questions to be great, because now we're sort of looking to the future. And I hope it's not a surprise to everybody that the United States is very much committed to harnessing emerging technologies, including AI, for sustainable development, to help ensure all countries are able to access the benefits of technology and to use AI and other technologies to help address the world's greatest challenges. We are committed to engaging in international AI conversations with a range of partners and across geographies to promote safe, secure, and trustworthy AI. But to answer your question and to turn to GDC, it's been a little over 2 months since we were in New York, and I was in New York with many of you for the GDC's adoption. From the beginning, the United States supported an inclusive and transparent process to develop an appropriately scoped and rights-respecting GDC to help outline a shared digital future for all, underlining, I think, what everyone here has been talking about today. Throughout this process, we were constructive and proactive. I hope there's agreement on that. And we very much celebrate the GDC's focus on multi-stakeholderism and an inclusive, rights-based, and gender-responsive approach to digital issues at the United Nations. These core principles underpin our approach regardless of the pace of technological evolution. We appreciate that the GDC strengthens the work of the United Nations on new issue areas like AI and data governance in an appropriate manner that is inclusive and transparent. We listened and will continue to listen to non-governmental stakeholders on their concerns that the consultation process did not meet the expectation of these stakeholders, meaningful participation, and their very strong eagerness to be part of the implementation. The United States really welcomes stakeholders to be actively involved in the GDC implementation process. Examples include discussions on the multidisciplinary, independent, international scientific panel on AI, which I will say is a very long title, a global dialogue on AI governance, the CSTD Data Governance Working Group, the proposal for an office, I could go on, and the many initiatives. We're looking ahead to the WSIS+20 overall review, and in that point I'll flag a couple of key points from the point of view of the United States. We support an inclusive, transparent, and as multi-stakeholder a process as possible for the WSIS+20 overall review. We should ensure the WSIS+20 overall review focuses on a review of implementation over the last 20 years before we think about what's next, much like you laid out the questions in this panel. And we should use the WSIS+20 overall review to integrate GDC implementation within the WSIS framework. And one last point, because I think I'm running out of my time, it's important that any role for the UN system on evolving and emerging technologies complements existing work by outside entities in UN agencies. It does not and should not supersede them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now let's turn to His Excellency Mr. Sherzod, Uzbekistan. How can we cope with rapid technology with WSIS and GDC frameworks?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for all the organizers of this important forum, and this opens up perspectives for discussing important topics for the development of internet. And from that perspective, I would like to focus on the importance of discussing the human-centric, the people-centric approach, because in the beginning of the opening ceremonies, there was an excellent presentation by His Excellency Minister Abdullah about the importance of the increasing the digital divide between the global north and global south. And from that perspective, if you look into the other dynamics like the demographics, so in the global north, most of the developed countries, they see the demographic challenges. There are not so many babies born, whereas in the global south, you see the opposite. There are so many new babies born. So there are different approaches on the government. So governments, they need more jobs to be created, whereas the internet can really help people to find the remote jobs. So from that perspective, in Uzbekistan, we try to create the very favorable conditions for IT companies to open up their delivery centers so that they can have their outsourcing hubs from Uzbekistan, and this will help for the companies in the developed countries to decrease their costs as well as to create the remote jobs for the people of Uzbekistan, which is a kind of double landlocked country. And this, from that perspective, this can open up the additional perspective opportunities for all the countries in the global south, which can utilize this kind of potential of opening the new opportunities for additional sources of income, so that the people in the global south, they are not looking towards moving physically as a potential migrants to the global west, rather than trying to enjoy living with their families in their own houses and are able to find good opportunities for income. For that, we have to heavily invest in education, upskilling of the people. For the case of Uzbekistan, we are leading the world in terms of the number of people learning on the Coursera platform as a share of the total workforce. And we try to invest heavily on upskilling of our people in terms of the foreign languages and in terms of the jobs which can be required in this global digital economy. And for from the IGF perspective, I think for the future, we have to think about the ways of avoiding any potential artificial kind of limitations for any type of global work. Because we know that for physical movement of labor, there are limitations with visa, with anti-immigration policies, etc. But we should avoid any potential kind of limitations for the global work. So all the remote work opportunities should be available globally, because there should be no limit in terms of the internet working. And we have to also promote the global cooperation, because as a planet as a whole faces lots of challenges which we have identified in Sustainable Development Goals, like even the global green policies are being implemented. So internet itself is not just an enabler of the green agenda. Now it's becoming as a kind of one of the biggest pollutants as well, because the global footprint of all the data centers is now more than the global footprint of the airplane industry. So we have to think about creating the green data centers. And from that perspective, I have to showcase a very important cooperation between Saudi Arabian companies, the Aqua Power, Data World, which are creating the green energy resources in Uzbekistan and creating the green data center, which can be utilized by the AI companies, which are in very much need of having a global computing power, which should be also based on the green energy. So only through opening up the artificial borders in the internet, through massive education and promoting the global cooperation, we can do work together for the benefit of all people living in our single planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have a fourth question that I would like to hear you all on this question. Given that we're slightly running behind schedule, I dare to reduce your specific time of 3 minutes to 2.5 each. Unfortunately, we don't have a clock here that we see it. That was announced that there should be one. Somehow it didn't make it. So please try to be very concise. But thank you for your interesting points. So the question is the following. It's about the mandate of the IGF, which will be renewed during the WSIS+20 process. And the question is, what would be in your vision for IGF beyond 2025, and how could the IGF contribute to the implementation of the GDC? So we start with His Excellency Mohammed Saud Al-Tamimi. Thank you.
So here in Saudi Arabia, we firmly believe that IGF should continue as principal platform for multi-stakeholders discussions, forming internet policy. We see IGF as well as a platform to produce well-crafted policy that will help us as a globe to implement global digital compact. And with that, it will add more inclusivity, with more discussions with multiple stakeholders. And the second one, undermining the time, which is adding more innovation during this discussion. As His Excellency, the Minister, Abdullah Swaha, the Minister of Telecommunication and IT in Saudi Arabia, mentioning this morning, there was multiple form of digital divide and global divide and AI divide. So we need more discussions, more platform like this one, to discuss AI ethics, data privacy, digital sovereignty, and so on, of kind of topics that needs more discussion, more platform. And more importantly, for us as a committed nation to deliver global digital compact, definitely we have to continue with the IGF, with WSIS as well, to make sure that we have enough platform for collaborations and innovation to deliver our commitment.
Thank you very much. Yunus Ali from UNTESA.
Well, thank you. Certainly, UN believes digital transformation is one of the strategic vehicle for almost all member states to catch up their national efforts in attending the 2030 agenda, even beyond. So I guess over the past 2 decades, we have achieved enormously. The beauty of the IGF, certainly, we need to commit it. Number 1, inclusiveness. Number 2, openness. Number 3, neutrality. So all in all, as other panelists highlighted very much, we are committed to this multi-stakeholder approach. But beyond this review, what we would like to see is the IGF continues to serve as a premier forum, global forum, on the digital discussion with the participation of all stakeholders. And we would like to see this IGF to serve as a premier tool to execute the Global Digital Compact. And also, we would like to see that with a stronger mandate after WSIS review, IGF can invest more efforts on the capacity building for those countries in vulnerable situation to help to bridge the gap between North and South. I stop here.
Thank you very much. Next is Ms. Sally Wentworth.
Thank you, Thomas. The Internet Society has been a long supporter of the Internet Governance Forum since its earliest days. And part of the reason for that, again, as I said earlier, is our belief that we will be more effective at implementing the aspirations of the World Summit on the Information Society, the Sustainable Development Goals, the Global Digital Compact, if we are working together. And platforms like the IGF allow all stakeholders on an equal footing in an open and inclusive way to come together to tackle those challenges. What is impressive about the IGF as well is its ability to evolve over time to meet the needs of the community. And we see that through the national and regional IGFs that have emerged around the world, and the Internet Society has supported many of them over the past years, where we take a global consensus and the communities themselves start implementing that at the local level. So translating this model of multi-stakeholder internet governance from a global dialogue into local implementation, I think, is a really important feature of the IGF, and one that we would certainly want to see continued and strengthened, and perhaps even a vehicle for the kind of capacity building that the Undersecretary spoke about. So we would strongly call for the IGF's mandate to be renewed as part of the WSIS+20. We would like to see stronger and more sustainable support for the IGF going forward, and ensuring that as it evolves, it retains those key characteristics of inclusion, stakeholders on an equal footing, and this ability to translate global issues into local action.
Thank you very much. His Excellency Mr. Takoi Magawa.
Thank you, Thomas. Japan has been strongly supporting the multi-stakeholder approach in the Internet governance. Last year, we hosted the IGF 2023 in Kyoto with more than 11,000 participants registered from 178 countries and regions, including more than 6,000 attending in person. This is a record number in IGF's history, and we are very honored and also grateful for this community. This year as well, under the participation of numerous multi-stakeholders, active discussions are taking place, demonstrating strong support for multi-stakeholder internet governance and the IGF, which is functioning effectively. Based on this, we hope that discussions to sustain and promote the IGF will take place in the WSIS+20 review. The theme of this year, building our multi-stakeholder digital future, is timely and highly suggestive. Japan believes that the extension of the IGF is indispensable and should be considered, including the possibility of making it permanent in the future. Furthermore, the IGF itself needs to be constantly evolved to meet the demands of the times. Last year, Japan held a special session on AI at the IGF. This year, a wide range of digital issues, including AI, are being addressed. Evolving to meet the demands of the times always attracts new participants and brings new values to the IGF. The IGF continues to evolve, for example, by establishing new tracks, such as the youth track, and we believe this journey will continue. The global dialogue under GDC needs to be inclusive for multi-stakeholders, including developing countries. In this sense, it is important to actively leverage existing forums such as the IGF. Holding the global dialogue back-to-back with the IGF could be a promising option. Also, to repeat, we believe that IGF is very effective for discussing the follow-up of the GDC. Finally, the IGF is led by the activities of the MAG. Among all, the leadership panel has greatly contributed to the IGF, especially in terms of external advocacy and fundraising. Although the MAG and LP are not stipulated in the Tunis agenda, they play a significant role. And we believe that the mechanism leading the IGF should be discussed in the WSIS+20 review. Thank you.
Thank you, Her Excellency Ms. Tati Morosi.
Thank you very much. We believe that IGF's mandate is still pretty much relevant. However, beyond 2025, it can reimagine itself having a role and becoming a more dynamic, action-oriented platform aligned with the objectives of the Global Digital Compact. Its vision could center around being a catalyst for inclusive, rights-based and sustainable digital transformation. We want to believe that IGF can play a role in accelerating the achievements of SDGs. The IGF could position itself as a global convener for multi-stakeholder partnerships aimed at accelerating SDGs, focusing on digital inclusion initiatives. The GDC emphasizes the need to address connectivity gaps, promote universal, meaningful, and affordable internet access, and ensure that underserved and unserved communities, including marginalized groups, are not left behind. So we believe that IGF could convene all stakeholders, bring these problems that we've been talking about since morning, and come up with solutions together. We talked about the need for cheaper devices, smart devices. IGF could convene the government, the private sector, the civil society, and sit around the table and come up with solutions for that. Solutions for data, price, all the solutions. We believe that IGF has a role to play to convene everyone to bring those solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jennifer Bacchus.
Thanks, I'm probably will reflect some of the answers you've already heard, and I apologize for that, but I think it's because there's significant agreement among those of us in this room. We, the United States, we support the IGF as the preeminent global venue for bringing together all the stakeholders through a bottom-up process to discuss solutions to internet public policy issues that are rights-respecting, innovative, and empowering. We recognize this as a really pivotal time for the IGF as it comes under the GDC's, after the GDC's adoption and at the outset of the WSIS+20 review. While there's always space for strengthening the IGF has continued to be a model of inclusivity and transparency for international engagements. We support continued efforts to strengthen the IGF, including through increased participation by stakeholders from developing countries. On GDC implementation, we've been clear about the need to build on existing processes, including the IGF. We've seen over the years the IGF as a great venue for discussions on the latest topics and flexible enough to accommodate the evolution of key issues, as was already noted by some of the other panelists. As we move into the WSIS+20 review process, we will advocate strongly for the UN General Assembly to extend the mandate of the IGF before it expires in 2025. We've also heard a lot of discussion by stakeholders on the funding model for IGF, and we expect that issue to come up in the WSIS+20 process. Ultimately, the United States is committing to ensuring the IGF has clear and stable funding. Thank you.
Thank you. His Excellency, Mr. Shermat of Sherzad.
Thank you. We hope that IGF would help us to bring more countries together, because a long time ago we used to talk about world becoming like a global village, but unfortunately the latest event shows that the world is becoming more polarized, and internet becoming a different kind of silos of different types of internet. And second thing, we used to talk about the importance of connectivity, since like 10% growth on high-speed connectivity will bring like 2% growth of GDP per capita, or it's used for learning the new things or increasing the productivity, etc. But if you look back to the what it is used for, especially with the kids, unfortunately, not all the time internet is helping the kids, but sometimes it's hurting them as well. So there are countries, even in the developed world, who are kind of banning access to social media, banning access to some sort of content. So from that perspective, I would like to see that IGF would focus more on the benefits of internet for the whole human society, and especially for the young growing kids, so that internet would become a very safe and promoting developing area, not the area where parents would be kind of cautious about getting access to internet to their kids. So these are the areas I think we should focus more.
Thank you. His Excellency Mr. Torgeir Michaelsen.
Thank you. I will keep it brief. I see that there are some people anxious to wrap up. Is that true? No, but I think it's, otherwise it's, my main point is I believe that we should make sure that the multi-stakeholder platform or the approach is strengthened after the process starting next year. IGF has provided an appropriate platform for stakeholders, as we heard from many panelists, for almost 20 years. The IGF should continue to be the primary arena. That's our position. And lastly, I think it's okay to mention that we also need to be careful that we don't create many new arenas when looking forward. We support the current forums and discussion, and representing a small country, I'm concerned about the paradox of inclusion, that which we will ultimately give us smaller influence, less influence, if we spread our wings on too many initiatives. We have to build on the strength, the initiatives, the bodies we already have. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, State Secretary Stefan Schnorr.
Yeah, Thomas, I think that the IGF is the best, perhaps the onlyest instrument to successfully implement the GDC, because the goal of the Global Digital Impact is an inclusive, open, sustainable, fair, safe and secure digital future for all. And there are two key priorities to achieve this goal. First is that we must ensure that human rights remain at the core of our digital future. That means protecting privacy, freedom of expression, access to information, while also combating internet shutdowns and censorships. So this is central to the UN mandate and the GDC. We cannot compromise on fundamental rights that shape our digital future. And second, to achieve this goal, it is crucial that all stakeholders collaborate and work together. And in the digital domain, that means that stakeholder expertise is essential for reaching the objectives of the GDC. And the solution is very easy, because the solution is the Internet Governance Forum. It is in a very strong position to facilitate both of these priorities at the end. As we have discussed today, the IGF is one of the most inclusive, open and transparent forums hosted by the United Nations, and a global digital compact that truly seeks to achieve its goals must recognize the vital role of the IGF in this process. The IGF is not only a platform, it is a cornerstone for shaping our digital future. And I think the IGF mandate is well suited to this task due to its broad scope. And the IGF has already proven its value, and now it's time to realize its full potential. Also, the negotiations were challenging for the GDC. There was a broad agreement at the end among all UN members states on the point that we don't want to have any overlaps. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to build on what works, and this is the IGF, and therefore, as I mentioned, I think the IGF is the onlyest instrument for the successful implementation of the GDC.
Thank you very much. We now have two voices from the floor that we would like to invite to contribute as well, also with maximum 3 minutes. The first one is Piers O'Donoghue, Director for the Future Networks Directorate of DG Connect of the European Commission. Thank you.
Specifically for its strong support of the
Thank you very much. And now I would like to invite Mr. Paul Gaskell, Deputy Director for Digital Trade, Internet Governance and Digital Standards of the United Kingdom. Thank you, Paul.
Which is effective and successful. Since 2005, we have seen how multi-stakeholder governance of the internet, with roles for governments, the private sector, civil society and the technical community, has driven increased connectivity, fostered technological innovation and supported a stable and resilient internet. The ability of the internet's global infrastructure to withstand the COVID pandemic and help the world get through that global crisis is evidence of this success. We now face new challenges, however, driven by rapid technological change and a more complex digital landscape. Back in 2005, no one was thinking about AI, social media, or the metaverse, and the WSIS+20 review needs to be ambitious and future-focused, taking full account of new and emerging technologies and addressing the challenges faced by developing countries in particular. As others have said, it's also a reality at a much more basic level that 1/3 of the world's population has no access to the internet, and there's still urgent work to do to connect the unconnected. So we must ensure that the WSIS review fully contributes to the UN Sustainable Development Agenda. WSIS should have a real focus on how the potential of digital can contribute to all aspects of sustainable development. And finally, of course, the WSIS review should extend the mandate of the IGF, and we think it should consider a permanent mandate as well. And just regarding the success of the IGF, a recent report by independent researchers in Oxford in the UK highlights the IGF success in becoming a global ecosystem for knowledge sharing, particularly for developing world partners. We believe we should build on that record of achievement and strengthen the IGF for the future. The UK looks forward to actively participating in the WSIS review and working with global partners on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. So we have a final round of wrap-ups. There has been some convergence of views, I think, so let's try to focus on things that we maybe not have heard yet, or what you think is particularly important. So I'll ask each panelist to give a final message of maximum 2 minutes or less, says the script here. But we are not so bad in time, actually. To each of you, and now this time I start from the other end. So please, what are your key learnings? What are new things that you've heard in this round, or what has not been said that you would like to say?
No. I think there are a lot of important stuff has been said. I was just sitting here thinking back. I think it was like in 1994 or 1995, the first time I accessed the internet myself. My father had bought me an Amstrad 64, a modem with a cable, putting it into the socket, and hearing that wonderful noise. It almost gets me like nostalgia here. Looking back, that's 30 years ago. I would like everyone to have that kind of feeling that I got in the 90s. Everyone should get the feeling to be connected, to make new friends, to learn new stuff online in a safe and secure manner, at the same time respecting their rights to as human beings. So this is kind of the conversation that's moving forward inside the IGF or at some point later this week. That would be highly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer Bachos.
I would conclude by saying what's sort of already been said here repeatedly, which is that we will only be successful in the future technologies and the current technologies if all stakeholders are around the table. We can't do it as governments alone. We need all the voices. We need the private sector, the academic community, the technical community, civil society. Otherwise, we're going to miss something that's incredibly important. So we will continue to be committed to these sorts of engagements, and we look forward to Oslo in 6 months. Thanks to Norway for stepping up, and we look forward to seeing you in not that many months ahead, so congrats and thanks.
She saved me, so I'm so sorry. You, obviously, all of you, warmest welcome to Oslo in Norway next year for the IGF 2025.
That's noted. Stefan Schnoor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this panel has truly highlighted the value of the IGF, and I'm looking forward not only for the IGF in 2025 in Norway, but also for the IGFs in 2026, 2027, and so on. So let's continue this successful story. I think what we can do is better and strengthening the inclusion of the Global South to make the IGF more visible. I think this is very important, but at the end we have so many new challenges also in the future, and the best way to address these challenges and to find common solutions is to work together with all multi-stakeholders. Therefore, I'm looking forward for the future of the IGF. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chairman of Scherzer.
As a wrap-up, I would like to thank all the organizers, and I think that this IGF was a very successful event, and I hope that this kind of meetings are very important to have a better idea about the future of Internet, about the future of cooperation among the countries, and improving the necessary areas in terms of the governance. And I'm just looking forward for having more productive and more successful such events, which will help us to cooperate, collaborate with each other, and for the benefit of humanity as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sally Wentworth.
At the Internet Society, our vision is that the Internet is for everyone. And we believe that we are all stakeholders in the future of the Internet. And that is really what a platform like the IGF represents. And as I said earlier, we look forward to many future IGFs and seeing the IGF continue to evolve to meet the challenges of the future. As we look to the WSIS+20, we are stakeholders in that process. We are part of the Internet technical community, and we really hope that our voice, that the voice of the Internet technical community is included and welcomed in that process, both in the process to evaluate the WSIS and also to think about the future of the WSIS, and in the implementation of the Global Digital Compact. Those of us in the Internet technical community are working very hard to ensure that the Internet continues to evolve in a way that is open and secure and puts people at the center, and ensuring that the technology that we all depend upon for the exciting things and the emerging technologies that we've spoken about is available and is scalable and is meeting the needs of the future. So we look forward to engaging in that process. We hope that our voice is included and welcomed, and we are excited about the IGF in Oslo, and in seeing how the modalities and the process for the WSIS+20 emerges over the weeks and months ahead, and contributing our voice to that.
Thank you. Tako Imagawa.
Thank you. My final comment is just adding one point. Within the limited time and the resources, we need to efficiently advance the WSIS+20 review. We have reached an agreement on the GDC through difficult negotiations, and the agreed items in the GDC should not be reopened, but rather used as the basis for the WSIS+20 review against. For example, regarding the WSIS action lines, I believe we should have effective and efficient discussions by basing them on the existing 11 items. So we look forward to a discussion to come, including the IGF 2025 in Norway. Thank you.
Thank you. Tati Morosi.
Thank you. I think my last words is just to thank the organizers, the government for warm hospitality, but also to challenge IGF to say that I want to reiterate that it has to play in the space of SDGs. It's about time we discuss difficult problems, come up with great solutions that can save little budgets that we have in the country, that can grow the economy. It's about time we talk about even big problems such as voting online for national elections, like writing examinations online, things like that. We have to start talking about big problems and coming up with big solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yunwali.
Thank you, Thomas. I would say that I will leave Riyadh with a strong conviction that the IGF or its potential needs to be further tapped with a stronger mandate, with the review. Then we would equip this IGF platform to the new phase that would provide more recommendations, solutions to the member states, to the multi-stakeholders, that how AI or digital process will really benefit the whole humanities. So look forward to see everyone in Oslo for the next the IGF.
Mohammed Saud Al-Tamimi.
Yes, since I'm the last one, let me take the liberty to speak on behalf of this panel. As we are approaching the 20th anniversary of WSIS, we all agree that we have to have more WSIS coming and more IGF, as my friend in Norway says that we will have 25, 26 and more to come, as a mandatory platform, collaboration and inclusive to implement our commitment as a global digital compact. And I wish you successful days for this coming IGF Riyadh 2024.
So thank you very much. We are approaching the end of the first part. Before I let you go, let me allow to try and add one or two things. I think there seems to be broad support that an inclusive, not just a multi-stakeholder approach, but an inclusive multi-stakeholder approach, where not just the big ones, but also the small actors have a voice, are sitting at the table and have a voice at the table. Something that I would like to add to the discussion is that it is important that everybody is sitting at the table, but we should not forget that we may have, and the reference on the respective roles of the different stakeholders was hard fought, paragraph 35 or 36 or whatever it was in the Tunis agenda. We may have different roles, but anyone that is missing, there's also a role missing. So it is important to, if we talk about multi-stakeholder, to bring everyone together, discuss our roles, agree on the roles and agree on solutions, hopefully, and also agree on making sure that all voices are heard. And in this respect, I would actually also like to refer to the São Paulo guidelines that have been adopted earlier this year at the Net Mundial +10, that gives us indicators and tools and solutions to how to make sure that a multi-stakeholder process is actually really inclusive. It helps to also counter power imbalances which exist not just among governments, but also, of course, among the other stakeholders. And I think everybody agrees on the relevance of the IGF, on the potential of the IGF. Also, of course, if the more funding the IGF gets, the more its potential can be used. and one of the reasons for the potential and the success of the IGF, it has been named as well, and I would like to conclude with this, is the agility and the dynamic of the IGF, its ability to deal with emerging issues that pop up many times first in the IGF on the agenda and are then picked up by the ITU, by UNESCO, by OECD, by other institutions that rely on the IGF to identify emerging issues, which is also one of the functions, according to paragraph 72.g, or whatever the exact thing is, of the Tunis agenda. So we are not inventing these things have been foreseen. The potential of the IGF has been foreseen in the WSIS documents in Geneva and in Tunis, and we are looking forward very much to us all together driving the IGF forward. And the IGF is not an end in itself, it's a means to, as we've heard, to achieve the SDGs, to make sure that all of us are able to benefit from digital technologies for the good and not for the bad. Thank you very much to all of you, and I'm looking forward to hearing you and seeing you again at next occasion. Thank you very much. With this, we will move to the second part of I'm supposed to moderate also the second session, so, and I just need to switch the PDF. Thank you very much for this. Now we'll move to the second session, which, if I see this correctly, is somewhat less multi-stakeholder in the sense that it is highlighting or focusing on the UN, which is also in a sense a multi-stakeholder institution because it has a lot of actors involved. So I would like to, for the second part, to ask to come to the floor Mr. Tawfik Yelassi, Assistant Director General for Communication and Information of UNESCO, and Robert Orp, Chief Digital Officer of UNDP, Ms. Gitanjali Sa, Strategy and Policy Coordinator at the ITU, Mr. Mike Walton, Head of Digital Service of the UNHCR, and Mr. Angel Gonzalez Sanz, Officer in Charge, Division on Technology and Logistics of UNCTAD. So as soon as the chairs are ready, which seems to be the case now. Hopla, I hope nothing happened.
Tumbling down.
So please have a seat, and while we are waiting for Tawfik in particular